Good morning students. Today we are going to continue our topic, that is biofertilizers. As we have already discussed about the topic, that is biofertilizers, today we are going to study deep inside it, as we have already studied the nitrogen fixing biofertilizers. Today we are going to discuss about the phosphate mobilizing biofertilizers. So you know what is the biofertilizer? The term biofertilizer include all such organisms which add, conserve and mobilize the plant nutrient in the soil. तो ऐसे सारे ऑर्गेनिज्म जो कि कंजर्व करते हैं सॉइल की क्वालिटी या फिर मोबिलाइज करते हैं प्लांट में न्यूट्रिएंट्स में, these organisms are said to be the biofertilizers. So we have already discussed about the point, that is biofertilizers. So biofertilizers, they may be of three types. They can be broadly classified into three types, that is nitrogen fixing biofertilizers, phosphate mobilizing biofertilizers, and the third one is the organic matter. Organic matter. So the nitrogen fixing biofertilizers, these are the biofertilizers. They are including, again divided into two types, that may be biofertilizers for the legumes, and these are example of these organisms such as rhizobium bacteria is the best example, which is present in the legumes, and the next one is the non-leguminous form. So biofertilizer for the non-leguminous, it includes certain bacteria such as azotobacter, azospirillum, azolla, and blue-green algae So these are the examples of certain nitrogen fixing biofertilizers, and these organisms can be utilized in order to make the nitrogen available to the plants. So these organisms, they are responsible for converting the gaseous form of nitrogen into the usable form by means of the plants, either in the form of nitrate or in the form of nitrite or in the form of ammonia. So it makes the gaseous nitrogen, which is present 78% in the atmosphere, into the usable form in which the plants can utilize it. Next, coming up to the main topic, today's topic, that is the phosphate mobilizing biofertilizers. So today we are going to study about the phosphate mobilizing biofertilizers. This can be also abbreviated as PMBF. So P means phosphate, M for mobilizing, B for biofertilizer, BF for biofertilizers. So this again can be divided into two types. So phosphate mobilizers are again divided into two types, that is the phosphate solubilizers. These phosphate solubilizers are certain organisms like bacillus, pseudomonas and aspergillus. These are the organisms which can make available the phosphate in the soluble form. The phosphate which is present in the non-acceptable form is converted into the acceptable form by means of these organisms such as bacillus, pseudomonas and aspergillus. And there are certain phosphate absorbers. So these are the organisms which make the phosphate which is already present in the soil absorb to the plant. So it converts the absorbed form in which the plant can utilize it. So the phosphate absorbers include the VAM. VAM. It is one type of fungi, or you can say that is one of the type of mycorrhiza. So we are going to discuss it one by one what are phosphate mobilizers and what are the types of phosphate mobilizers and what are the examples. So we know that biofertilizers may be divided or broadly classified into three types based on which type of fixing is done. If they are fixing the nitrogen, then they are said to be the nitrogen fixing or nitrogen fixing biofertilizers. If they are fixing the phosphate, then it is said to be phosphate mobilizers because they mobilize the phosphate. And the third one is the organic matter decomposers, or you can say that organic matter. So this is again a biofertilizer or fertilizers which can be utilized. So nitrogen fixing is again divided into two types. It may be the biological nitrogen fixers. So you can say that certain organism which is present in the leguminous plants which fixes the nitrogen, and there are certain organism which is present freely living in the soil but they are present in the non-leguminous plant. So both they can fix the nitrogen, but phosphate mobilizing such as Bacillus, Pseudomonas and VAM, they can make available the phosphate. So coming up to the topic, that is the phosphate solubilizing microorganism. So here we can say that phosphate solubilizing microorganisms may be divided into two. It may be the phosphate solubilizer and phosphate absorber. Solubilize means mobilizing it, make the phosphate in the soluble form inside the soil. So there are certain organisms which can make this phosphate in the convert the phosphate in the soluble form. So these are example of, like Bacillus is one of the example, Pseudomonas is one of the example, and Aspergillus. So certain phosphate solubilizing bacteria and the fungus, you can say that, such as example for Bacillus, Pseudomonas and Aspergillus. Bacillus is one type of bacteria, whereas the Aspergillus is one type of the fungus. So you can say that there are certain bacteria, fungus. So coming up to the definition of the phosphate solubilizing microorganism. So what are these organisms? So the heterotrophic microorganisms, these are certain phosphate solubilizing microorganisms are heterotrophic microorganism. It consists of mainly of bacteria, fungi, and these bacteria and fungi are having the capability of solubilizing the insoluble phosphate. ये बैक्टीरिया, ये फंजाई क्या करते हैं, जो इनसॉल्युबल फोस्फेट प्रेजेंट है, इनसॉल्युबल फोस्फेट सॉइल में प्रेजेंट है, उसको कन्वर्ट करते हैं इनटू द सॉल्युबल फॉर्म, into the soluble form. So if you have flour, wheat flour, that can be converted into chapatis. So what is chapati? It is one of the form in which we can eat it, chapati, but we cannot eat the flour. So flour, it is one of the insoluble form of the phosphate, and chapati is the soluble form of the phosphate. तो phosphate already soil में अगर available है लेकिन वो insoluble form में है, तो this insoluble form of the phosphate is converted into the soluble form by means of certain heterotrophic bacteria or certain fungi. So these are the ऐसे कुछ organism होते हैं which converts the insoluble form of the phosphate into the soluble form. And these bacteria and fungi, we are going to see it one by one. Next, one more thing is that it also produces growth promoting substances. So it not only converts the insoluble form to the soluble form, but it also produces the growth promoting substances like indole acetic acid. तो कुछ ग्रोथ प्रोमोटिंग सब्सटेंस लाइक हॉर्मोन्स वो क्या करते हैं, प्रोड्यूस करते हैं, विच इन्फ्लुएंस द प्लांट ग्रोथ, जिसके कारण प्लांट का ग्रोथ टेक्स प्लेस करता है। तो इनका फॉस्फेट सोल्यूबलाइजिंग माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म का दो काम होता है। पहले क्या करना है, इनसॉल्युबल फॉर्म ऑफ द फॉस्फेट टू सॉल्युबल फॉर्म में कन्वर्ट करना है, और दूसरा क्या करना है, ग्रोथ प्रोमोटिंग सब्सटेंसेस जो है वो प्रोड्यूस करना है। Next is the phosphate absorber. We know that the phosphate mobilizer is divided into two types, that is the phosphate solubilizers that we have seen just now, and the phosphate absorber. So phosphate absorber, it consisting of the certain examples of phosphate absorbers. These are the organism which can absorb the phosphate and makes the phosphate available to the plants. So certain example, they are mycorrhiza, MYCORRHIZA. So what is mycorrhiza? Mycorrhiza are the fungus root. So it is one of the fungus root एसोसिएशन, एक प्रकार का ऐसा एसोसिएशन होता है जिसमें कि फंगस के रूट का एसोसिएशन विद द प्लांट्स टेक्स प्लेस करता है। मतलब यहाँ पे these are the one type of fungus which they used to come in contact with the root of plant and makes the phosphate available to the plants. So what is mycorrhiza? Mycorrhiza is nothing but a fungus root association, or you can say that mycorrhiza is a symbiotic association of the fungi. फंगाई के साथ एक symbiotic association होता है जिसमें कि फंगस प्लांट को हार्म नहीं करता है, बल्कि उसे क्या करता है कि फॉस्फेट makes the plant available, or you can say that make the phosphate available to the plant. So one of the example of mycorrhiza, there are two types of mycorrhiza, but that is nothing but the fungi, always remember that, and it is said to be the VAM. VAM means vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza. So mycorrhiza, it is a type of mycorrhiza and which makes the phosphorus available to the plant. Always remain that, or remember that it makes the phosphorus absorbed to the plant, plant को absorb करके देता है, and after that the plant can grow. So phosphate mobilizer is divided into two, phosphate solubilizer as well as the phosphate absorber. And the absorber example is mycorrhiza. Next is the phosphate mobilizer examples. So the phosphate mobilizer examples, as we have already seen that they are of two types, phosphate solubilizer as well as the phosphate absorber. So phosphate solubilizer, it is consisting of certain bacteria, fungi and actinomycetes. So bacteria, one of the example of bacteria such as bacillus. Next is the pseudomonas, and certain fungi such as aspergillus and penicillium are example of the certain phosphate solubilizers. So in the case of examination, if you are going to face, consider if you are going to face an theory exam, then you are asked to write down the example of certain phosphate solubilizers. So that time you are expected to write the examples with the descriptions. So these are the example. The phosphate solubilizers, normally they may be bacteria, fungi and actinomycetes. We are going to see one by one the photos of the. So you know that certain phosphate mobilizers or the phosphate solubilizers such as bacteria. So the first is the bacteria. This is the, here we can see the bacteria. Name of bacteria is the bacillus bacteria. So you know that bacillus is a you can say that it is a genus of gram positive bacteria. जो bacillus bacteria होता है, it is one of the gram positive and rod shape bacteria. Here you can see the shape. The shape is almost rod shape. So if you can find out a rod shape bacteria which is gram positive, then we used to call it as bacillus. So there are certain bacillus type of bacteria which is present in the soil, which makes this phosphate solubilized form, or convert this phosphate in the soluble form, insoluble to soluble form. So this is another picture of a pseudomonas. So we have seen the pseudomonas. Pseudomonas is again a type of, you can say that it is a genus of gram negative bacteria. This is a gram positive bacteria and this is a gram negative bacteria, and these bacteria, they help the phosphate which is available in the soil insoluble to soluble form, conversion of phosphate into insoluble to soluble form. We know that certain phosphate solubilizing bacteria, example for bacillus and pseudomonas. Next is the fungi. So certain phosphate solubilizers includes fungi such as aspergillus and penicillium. So we are going to see the pic of the aspergillus and the penicillium. So this is a picture of aspergillus. Aspergillus. So what is aspergillus? It is a fungus and it is one of the most common type of genus aspergillus. So this is one of the species which is most common, or we call this, it causes a type of disease and the disease is called the black mold. हम जो disease cause करता है उस disease को हम क्या बोलते हैं? Black mold. Black mold. So black mold is a disease which is caused by the aspergillus. So this is the picture of aspergillus. So what is aspergillus? It is one type of fungi. So we can say that it is a fungi. This is penicillium. It is also a fungi. We have already heard of the term penicillium. So this is one of the picture of this is a picture of penicillium. Penicillium, penicillium. So this is a picture of aspergillus and this is a picture of the penicillium. Penicillium is also, you can see the pictures, and it is almost, the color is said to be green color. So that's why it is said to be the green mold. इसे green mold भी कहा जाता है, mold, M-O-L-D. So it is also said to be the green mold, and it normally found on the moist organic matter such as the decaying fruits and vegetables. तो जहाँ कहीं पे भी moisture present है, normally decay करने के लिए उसका normally use किया जाता है. You can say that they are non naturally present somewhere where the decaying process is going on. So this is also said to be the green mold. So here we have seen the two type of fungi, that is aspergillus and penicillium. What is the main work of these two fungi is that they makes the phosphate in the soluble form, or convert the insoluble form of phosphate into the soluble form. Next is actinomycetes, streptomyces. So this is again a type of organism, actinomyces type of organism है, example है, and this is again converting the insoluble form of phosphate to the soluble form. Next, coming up to the phosphate absorbers. You know that phosphate absorbers normally include the VAM, vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza. So vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza, what they do is that they come in association with the plant and then they makes the phosphate, absorbed form of phosphate, make available to the plants. So you can say that this is a one type of fungi association with the plant. So here we can see the worm or one type of fungi where the fungi comes or associated with the plant roots. So this is the plant parts. Here you can find out the root here. This is the fungi. Hypha of the fungi, they normally penetrates into the plant roots and here they invade the roots. रूट को इन्वेड करते हैं और वहाँ पे जाके एक वेसिकल का फॉर्मेशन टेक्स प्लेस करता है. So this is a picture of a vesicle. So here you can say that the hypha, they normally penetrate into the root cortex or epidermis region, that is root cortical region, and then they used to form a vesicle. That's why they are said to be the vesicle arbuscular mycorrhiza. So these are the example of vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza, and they of these fungi come in association with the plant parts or roots, and then they makes the phosphorus. They makes the phosphorus absorbed to the plant. Absorbed to the plant. So this is an example of worm. So today we have seen what is phosphate. So today we have seen what are phosphate mobilizers and their types, that is phosphate solubilizer as well as the absorber, and what are the different type of organisms which are associated with the mobilizer or the absorber. So in case of mobilizer we have seen certain bacteria, fungi and actinomycetes, and in case of the absorbers we have seen the worm. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow with the next topic.